Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to introduce to you Giovanni Uche, Nigerian-born British visual artist. He's versatile, beginning his career as an illustrator designing Black characters that allow young Black kids to see themselves in ways he rarely saw growing up. He has since expanded his practice into costume making, socially engaged in public art. His work seamlessly blends visual storytelling with intricate political commentary, while also engaging communities throughout thought-provoking projects. Giovanni, good morning to you, sir. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. As always, thank you very much, which is what I say to all and everyone who are willing to participate in this forgotten generation exercise that I do.
Mm.
Not everybody does, so I always thank those who agree to do that. So thank you for coming on board. All
No,
right.
thank you so much for the invite.
Yeah, you're more than welcome, sir. So what we're gonna do now is just go down the road of a little bit about yourself and
Okay.
in terms of your origin, and you can tell us more about your work right up to date.
Okay.
So the beginning of it all is, would you like to tell us about where you were born?
Yes, I was born in Port Harcourt in River State, Nigeria.
My
That
God.
was yeah, yeah, I was born in Port Harcourt, but my family, at least on my dad's side, are like Abbey Estate.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's kind of like the overview of like where I was where I came from.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Nigeria
It
is a massive country, isn't it?
Nigeria is a massive country. Nigeria is it's quite it's quite large. Even though I grew up there till I was about 12.
Okay.
I still barely saw any of it really
Right,
because you
right,
don't really
right.
see that much as a kid, do you? You kind of see the bits and bobs of the area you kind of live in.
Yeah.
So but yeah, no, I do yeah, it's quite large.
Yeah. So that's interesting. You grew up until you was what 12, 8 years of age. And so what happened next when you got to
Uh,
12?
we came, yeah, 12 if I remember correctly. Well, sometimes I mix it up 12 or 13, but
Yeah.
we came to the UK when I think I had my 13th birthday here, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So from then I've came to the UK, came to Wolverhampton, and then from there I've
Oh,
just kind of lived here ever since, really.
right. So when you say we, who are we?
I
Is that mom and
came,
dad and brothers and sisters and whatever?
it came with it was my mom and my siblings. It was my mom
Okay.
and my siblings. Because my mom was born in the UK, so
Is that
um,
right?
yeah, my mom was born here. So because of
Okay.
that, me and my siblings all had kind of an automatic um citizenship, really.
Right.
Yeah. And
That's very interesting.
mm,
Yeah.
so so born there, and then we were all born in Nigeria. Me and my siblings.
So how many siblings have you got?
I've got three. I've got two younger brothers.
Yeah.
They're twins, and then my younger sister, who's the one studying. So I'm hoping I'm not like taking up her space in the room at the moment.
I'm
But
sure she'd forgive you for about an hour or so.
yeah, I think it should be all right.
Oh, that's fantastic though. So you are the older sibling of the lot?
I'm the oldest sibling, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Does that impact you in any way? Do they all look up to you and salute you and all that sort of thing?
I hope they look up to me. I do try to be as kind of supportive as I can for all of
Mm,
them and just everything they do,
mm,
really.
mm,
Um, because I think Nigeria has such a very, at least for me growing up, it had such a very strong ideal of like the oldest son, kind of thing. An
Oh, I
ideal
see.
kind of,
Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
an ideal I didn't really feel too strongly about,
Mm,
really, because it just felt so, it was kind of put on really more,
mm.
this kind of patriarchal symbol thing.
Yes.
But
Yes.
amidst that, I am still the oldest of my siblings. So in that stead, you still try and be as supportive and as caring and
Yes.
as guiding as
Yes.
you can, trying to
Yeah.
avoid like the kind of pitfalls, that of course your parents try to help you avoid, but
Yes.
everyone always falls into pitfalls. It's
Oh, yeah.
human nature.
It's a
So
part of life,
you
isn't it? It's a part of life.
yeah, so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
try and like, okay, I made a mistake here, so maybe go this way kind of thing.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
I guess also there's this sort of historical thing where the older male figure, as in the siblings, it's not
Mm,
just an African thing. I think it's right across a lot of the countries. The
mm.
older male sort of take control, don't they? In
I think so, but I can't really speak for anywhere else. I kind of only
mm,
speak my personal experience, which was
mm,
a lot of like you're the oldest son, you're
mm,
in charge if no one else is here, da 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 da, which I
mm,
understand from like a parental point of view, kind of like
mm.
because you're the oldest, so there's a lot of guidance, and it kind of takes some of the stress off the parents.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes, yes,
but
yes.
I think the only thing I wasn't too comfortable with is because of like wider society, at least in Nigeria at the time. I don't know if
Right.
it's changed now. I felt like there was a lot more inherent value on my being than my siblings, simply because I was the oldest, and I didn't really
Yes,
believe that kind of
yes.
thing. I didn't believe there was inherent extra value on me simply
Mm,
because of just chance. So I didn't
mm.
choose to be the
Yeah,
oldest.
yeah,
All
yeah,
these are
yeah.
kind of out of my power kind of thing. So
I understand that.
yeah.
So you mentioned mom. What about dad?
My dad didn't have because my dad was born in Nigeria. He didn't have a British citizenship.
Right,
So he'd come from time to time
right.
just to kind of visit.
Yes, right.
But I think there was just issues with the visa around that time, so it just never
Mm.
really kind of panned out. Unfortunately, he passed away about 7 years ago.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
so at the moment it's just us and our mom really.
So
But
you're definitely the man then. Oh, that's
I've
great.
had to be
Yeah, yeah.
since he passed really. It's kind of that
Yes.
thing that kind of gets put on you really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
So when you come to this country then at age 13, I suppose the first thing you look at is schooling, isn't it? How did that sort of pan out?
sorry,
Yeah,
schooling, yeah.
yeah.
It was different. It was well, to be fair, the first thing that hit me was how cold it was because we came here in
I
the
was gonna
summer.
come on to that.
Yeah, but okay, sorry, schooling.
No worries.
Okay, yeah. Schooling was interesting. I felt it was a little bit of it was a very different dynamic, I think. Schooling, it was I remember this thing where it was like a little bit behind because a lot of the things I was learning, I had already learned it in Nigeria.
That's very
So I
interesting that you made that
yeah,
comment.
yeah, it was
Very
really
interesting.
bizarre for me. And
Yeah.
like I had this thing, but it created this weird dynamic where I became very lazy to kind of study because I already knew some of the stuff. So I was passing without really
Yes.
much effort
Yes.
because I had already studied it like
Y-
2 years ago. So I had this
Yeah,
thing where I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like a year ahead,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's just
which made
repeating what
schooling
you,
for me very easy at the time. Yeah.
yeah, because you're repeating
Yeah.
what you've already learned.
Yeah, I had repeated what I had already learned. So it was
Yeah.
kind of shocking to me because I was like, oh, but we already learned this like 2, 3 years ago. Are you guys learning this just now? But I think it's that thing really with different
That's,
countries kind of have like different
yeah.
yeah.
Interestingly though, did you, I don't know which school you went and how mixed it was already, but did teachers pick up on the fact that you were coming from an African country and that you were ahead? Did they ever pick up on that to
I
say,
don't I don't know if
as
they
a
ever
point of
picked
interest?
I don't know if they ever picked on that I was ahead. Everyone kind of knew that I was because my accent's always been I don't even know if my accent has been like clearly Nigerian, but my accent's always been off. So most people can kind of tell like
Yeah,
I was not born here kind of thing.
yeah. Mm,
But they mostly knew because when I came, I was like, I'm Joe, came from Nigeria, da, da.
mm,
They picked up, they never really picked up on that I was like a bit ahead, but they were
mm.
more than fine with me. They knew
Okay.
I'd get my homework done. I'm not behind on anything. I was kind of
Right.
just really there, but that's where because I kind of came when I realized the rate of schooling, I kind of gained this weird ego where I was kind of ahead. So I
Okay.
wasn't really working as hard as I should have been.
Uh,
So it's this
yeah.
bizarre thing as a kid because even from Nigeria, you kind of have this idea of how like other places look at you. And when I got here, I had this this kind of image of how I was being looked at um or I was kind of expected to kind of be stupid or just not as smart.
Right, right. Now,
So the
that's
ego,
why I asked the question, you see.
okay,
That's why I asked the question.
okay, okay.
Because, people visually
Yeah,
make a decision as to what box they put you in.
yeah, yeah,
So when
yeah.
I asked the question as to whether or not they appreciated that you were advanced, that's what I meant.
Okay, okay. I think, yeah, I didn't really feel it too much from the teachers. My ego was kind of more with the students. Those, I'll be honest. I remember there's like a teacher or two where you can kind of feel like the racism, though they're not aware that they're racist because to them, racism is only when they say certain things, not when they treat you a certain way. But
Yes, yes.
ask any kid of color or just you kind of know when someone is treating you differently than everyone
Absolutely.
else. Yeah, no, you
Absolutely.
kind of it's very easy to kind of pick up on. But I think there
Absolutely.
was a weird kind of defense for me where um just because I was larger when I was younger, they wouldn't really say anything directly to me, mainly because they were scared, because they
Okay.
assumed I was violent, even though I'd never done anything violent to them.
Very
But that
interesting.
assumption, yeah,
Very
it's that
interesting.
kind of assumption off the bat, kind of like
Yeah. Yeah.
gave me a kind of protection, even though I wasn't gonna do anything, but they
Yes.
would kind of
Yes.
like, oh yeah, if we piss him off, you know how these Africans are, that kind of blanket thing.
Oh my
But
goodness.
that was only a
Yes.
few teachers. Most of my teachers were quite lovely, to be fair.
Yeah. 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 Well, yeah. Yeah. And you find that throughout life, to be honest. So how was schooling for you then, overall?
Overall, I think it was okay. It was okay. I made some lovely friends throughout it. I didn't really find too much of a issue within schooling. I was never really too stressed, but like I said, I was kind of because I was kind of just skating by it. I knew I would pass. I wasn't too
Mm,
worried about certain things.
mm,
I think the most effort I was really putting in was when I got to sixth form, and that was when I kind of put in work to get through because I did BTECs because for me, exams, I can't really remember specific details, but like doing projects kind of always works for me. So
right.
that was how I went through there. And then going through university was fine. Um, I wish I took it as seriously for my undergrad,
Mm,
but
mm,
I
mm.
passed
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
successfully.
So that's interesting then. So you say you went through school. I guess, am I guessing then that your best subject was art in school?
Surprisingly not. It's
Okay.
actually yeah. Yeah, when I went through my art was okay. I was good at IT, I think was one of my was one of my higher subjects. And
Mm.
when sixth form, I think my highest subjects was law. I think that's where I got my highest marks.
Low.
Yeah, which is surprising. Which is well, it's surprising in a way because my family back home on my dad's side are mostly lawyers and judges
Oh,
and
I
stuff like that.
see. So
So, but
interestingly then, did they expect you to become a lawyer?
they did want me. To be fair, they just didn't want me to do art. That was the main thing. They didn't have.
Oh,
They just didn't
oh.
want me to do art. So I remember when I got really high marks in law, I didn't tell them for a while, just because I knew what they would say.
That's
I think I was one of
interesting.
the highest marks in law in my class, and I was maybe top three or something like that.
Yeah,
And so I knew, oh no, if they find that out, they're gonna really add on pressure, like do law, do law, do law.
yeah. When did you find out that you were interested in art then?
I've been doing it all my life, really. I've just kind of been drawing as young as I can remember. I don't have a young memory where I wasn't kind of drawing
Okay.
things. So it's
Yeah.
just been a part of me, which is why I developed kind of the philosophy where I feel like for me, I feel like, and most people, I just feel like creativity is just another form of communication more than
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, yeah. And
Because
it
for me,
is. Yeah, it
yeah,
is.
that's how I experienced it. I just simply drew. I've been drawing. I've
Mm,
only recently, like it says, I've only recently been expanding into like other things, maybe in like the past 3 years, three to
yeah.
4 years or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you were leaving school then, what did you want to do? Did you know what you wanted to do?
I knew when leaving school, I just wanted to become an artist. I just wanted to be an art
All right.
practitioner in any kind of way. That's really been my biggest motivation, really,
Okay.
is to be able
Okay.
to make and produce art um, just make it produce art in a way that was sustainable to me. I
Mm,
didn't
mm,
really need to be rich and exceptional, but for me,
mm.
that was just how I enjoyed going through life.
Yeah. So
Um,
did you then say to yourself, I'm going to go to university to do art or what?
yeah, yeah. I went
Okay.
to yeah. So I didn't do arts. I didn't do fine arts in university. I did visual communication.
Okay.
I think it was my interest between the IT and the arts because I was quite good in IT as well. I
All
was really
right.
curious
Okay.
how
Okay.
that kind of melds, and that visual communication course I came across seemed like a really great kind of like combination of the two.
Okay. Okay.
So I did visual communication. Yeah, that was my undergrad, and that
Which
was a really
university
good
was that
course.
then? Where did you go to university?
That was at BCU,
Oh, that's
Birmingham City.
Birmingham City
Yeah, Birmingham
University.
City University.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
so
But I lived it.
what is the experience like then? Is it 3 years? What was that like?
It was 3 years. It was great. I really, really enjoyed it. Um, it was, it was it was more brief based. So they made it so you had to it was you tr kind of trying to solve problems more than them teaching you like hard skills. There were like workshops and stuff available for you to learn hard skills. But
Right.
the most that you were taught was kind of like how to understand problem, how to navigate through that problem creatively and
Mm,
stuff like that, research. So
mm.
I'd say I didn't really learn like all my practical skills I've kind of just taught myself over time
Okay.
because university more focused on just hard skills because creativity is always so open. So
Mm, mm,
it's always just people's problems and how they might be solved since there's no like specific way
mm.
to like, there's no formula to always solve a creative problem. So it's to
Right.
understand it, to tackle
Yeah.
it and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So
Yeah. So
that's how my undergrad was.
yeah. So I guess you enjoyed that.
I
Um,
really did.
yeah. So what did you do after leaving university then?
After leaving university, I kind of went into a weird state of doubt, I think. And because the last years of university, it was my whole thing has been creativity, but I've never been sure on the medium because I was always told you have to choose one specific thing and like go with that, even when
Okay.
and I have this aversion to like I have this aversion to, I guess, being boxed in. I have a
Okay.
serious aversion to it. So I remember I became an apprentice for a I became a digital marketing apprentice for a like online suits company
Mm,
because around the time of me leaving uni, I gained like a really big interest in fashion and like making just clothing and how that can be used as like another form of expression. And so
So you said you got into making clothing?
no, I just got into the idea. I got into clothing. I didn't make clothes until like later. Like yeah, last year was the first time I made a piece of clothing by
Okay.
scratch.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So fashion was an interest of mine. So I took the digital marketing apprenticeship just to teach me marketing skills because
All
I was
right.
trying to think of what skills would I need to kind of make it on my own. So I was
Mm,
looking for jobs that would get me those skills to kind of
mm.
be able to kind of move through the world, really.
Yeah. So talking about moving through the world then, how did you become on? Tell me something about the Black Arts movement in Wolverhampton. How did you get connected with that?
That was very recently, to be fair. I was because I and that's part of the reason I was so happy to kind of get along on the project designing it with Luke Perry because I've lived here like say since 12 or when I had my 13th birthday. And I had no idea the Black Arts group started in Wolverhampton. I had no idea. I didn't realize there was any connection to Wolverhampton at all until
Mm,
last year. And this
mm,
was early last year when but because they were having, because the art gallery was having an exhibition, bringing back a
mm.
lot of their work, bringing back some of the practitioners and I was in Croatia at the time.
Okay.
But I was really shocked that I had never heard about this, and I was like, "What is this thing?" So that's why it became a topic, and that's why when discussing with Luke Perry about like ideas and what monuments to build, I
Mm,
brought that up because I was like,
mm,
"This is such an important part of Wolverhampton's history." that
Mm,
most people don't know about because I went through the whole school year while I was in school in Wolverhampton. I had never heard about it, and I really loved.
mm,
All I did was art. I was known, when I don't know they brought that whole tradition on from America, but like most likely to be so and so.
mm.
All my fellow classmates always put Giovanni most likely to be an artist because so people were very well aware that I was all I was into.
Okay.
And but somehow I'd gone through the whole schooling period not knowing about a black art group. So that's why I thought this is such a very important part of Wolverhampton's history. That's is something to be kind of shown and shared.
So what is the Black Art Group then? What is it?
It is a collection of black artists. I think it was 1981. I might be mistaken. I have so many dates in my head. I kind of
Mm,
get it mixed up. But it started in Wolverhampton. Um, I believe the story was, if I remember correctly, is that while they were in school, they were looking for different types of they were just looking for black arts, and one of the early members was told that black arts isn't a thing, and so in defiance, they kind of came together and started the Black Art Group. And I really love that story because I think that's
yes,
a lot of like different black organizational stories. Is you're
yes,
told so and so doesn't exist, so you
yeah.
become you
It's
become
almost
petty
it's
and
almost
say
like a rebellion, isn't it?
it is it is always a rebellion.
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness. So that's how that started.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. And I guess it kind of remained in Wolverhampton until a period of time, and then it just then expanded.
Yeah, it's so the group itself remained in Wolverhampton, though a lot of their practitioners kind of went to different parts of just England in general.
Mm,
Um just kind of and then the Black Art Group kind of spread. But it's interesting because they were formed to show that black art what existed, but they also made spaces for even white artists, just like working class artists in general, which I
mm,
I find as which is not something too surprising you see in some different kind of rebellion um black black rebellious groups
mm.
um that sometimes they end up making spaces for just working class because you kind of understand
Yes,
similar kind of
yes,
struggles. But the Black
yes.
Art Group, yeah, that
Wow.
is kind of cliff notes of what it
Yeah,
was and what it is.
yeah. So where's it reached now? You're local, national, is that international as well, or is it just UK based thing?
I believe it kind of moved into the black arts movement in general, if I
Mm,
remember correctly. I know it
mm,
became national. I know it expanded nationally into the rest of the wider UK.
mm,
But while discussing with Luke Perry, because he was expanding, because most of the information I got was just from the archives in the UK,
mm,
and he was expanding on me, he was expanding, telling me that it had expanded internationally, which I was really impressed by. But
mm.
from what I had read, I knew it had expanded nationally just to the because a lot of the artists kind of took the Black Art Group and kind of expanding it to this different parts of the UK, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I think its history is mostly kind of connected with Wolverhampton, though.
Well, I hope Wolverhampton is getting the credit for initiating such a great
Yeah,
initiative.
that yeah, no, that's why I thought the monument would be so important and so vital in Wolverhampton because it's a part of its history that's really
Mm.
rarely known.
So talking about the monument then, which is where and how you and I met,
Yeah,
and obviously thanks to Luke Perry for introducing us. So
yeah.
how did that come about?
The monument, so it came about just in the roundabout project, and that was just a project um erected by the asylum artist quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this public arts project to kind of revitalize Wolverhampton and just bring money and just kind of bring more culture into Wolverhampton. So I became um part of the committee board because partly I'm a studio holder in the asylum artist quarter, but well, at least I was told part of the reason I was invited to be a community board member was because I I try to be as active as I can within local community, and I
Okay.
also run something. I also run my own thing called the Wolves Art Club, which was me trying to like support more artists, kind of community. I guess artists community events. Really, that's what I was trying to do with that. So because of all these
Mm.
things, I was kind of invited to be one of the community board members, and then they sent out a brief to a bunch of artists, and they got a lot of responses back, but to the ones that got accepted, these were the pieces that we kind of got in return, which was David Sheckley, Luke Perry, and a few other artists as well that have just been commissioned to kind of revitalize the space. So even that's why even the plants that are being kind of put around the space, that's by another artist that works more horticulturally.
Okay,
So
yeah. So it's
it's
like a
been this whole thing
combination.
to try and yeah,
Yeah.
so it's this whole thing to try and like revitalize Chapel Ash and just have um just kind of create a hub, really, another hub for Wolverhampton.
Yes,
Just
yes,
another
yes.
third space because it's always lovely to have these just inviting spaces
Yes.
because I don't know if this was inspired by it, but my own personal view because I've lived in Wolverhampton for so long and seen Wolverhampton pre and post Brexit and COVID has just been such a transition of like a lot
Yes.
more empty buildings, a lot more empty shops. It kind of
Yes.
just looks empty. I mean, but and it's nice kind of seeing different people and different communities trying to like revitalize it bit by
Yes.
bit and trying to bring some more life into it, bring more. And it's nice when
Yes.
it's more local and community engaged
Yes. Yes. Yes.
because when
Yes.
it
Yes.
feels like an outside force, it doesn't feel like it cares.
Yes.
It feels more cold, but stuff like this,
Yes.
that's
Yes. Yes.
by yeah. So
Yeah.
it's been so that's kind of what led into Luke Perry being commissioned for to do the monuments.
Right.
And it's
So
just been a fantastic.
yeah, 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 yeah. So that so the actual design of the monument then that you're involved with, was that actually you designed that and then Luke
I
Perry made
yeah,
it?
yes, I designed it. Luke Perry made it. Yeah.
So what was that based on, that design?
It was inspired by the Black Power Fist.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's so it's a Black Power Fist,
Mhm.
with holding a paintbrush. So
Right,
because
right.
we're trying to think of something that if not because I wasn't because I designed it without realizing text
Oh
was going to
yes,
be into
yes,
the
yes,
piece that explained what it was. And
yes,
whenever I design, I try to think of how clearly something can be seen, how clearly
yes,
something can be understood visually.
yes, yes, yes,
And I was
yes,
thinking the black power fist is a very common symbol.
yes. Mm.
And with a paintbrush, you might be able to inspire or kind of put together black art, maybe. So
Okay,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah, yeah,
inspired that kind of
yeah,
sketch. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Though I I got the chance really purely by Luke Perry's because we were discussing the black art group, at least just the history. And he's the one that asked me, oh, would you be interested in designing it? Now,
oh,
I
I
mean,
see.
who would
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
so I was like, who would say no if you could? Because it's such an important part, and I've lived in Wolverhampton for so long. It just feels it's just a
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
second.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Fantastic. And the fact that your idea of designing it with the black movements, fist and all that,
yeah,
is it definitely can be seen. But just in case, anyway, the words that's written on the front of it, then obviously make
yeah.
sure that
They make it.
everybody can get, an understanding of what that is all about.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. How
yeah,
long did that take to get done that?
the designs didn't take too long. I think we kind of went back and forth with it. The making it, it was a lot faster than I expected. Perry is quite. He's
Yeah, yeah,
very
yeah.
proficient at his work.
Yeah,
He's
yeah, yeah.
really quick.
Looks a good man.
Yeah, I
I've
think it
worked with
took
him
it.
for a few. I've worked with him, over time for a few things. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it took him maybe about a month and a half or so to like fully fabricate, if not maybe less
that's
than that. It was very fast to the point that I was kind of shocked at how quick it was. Because when he was telling me certain parts were done, I was like, oh, really? Okay.
and when you consider that at the unveiling of that particular monument that we're talking about, and I don't know whether it's got a name or anything, but they were like four other pieces that he had
Yeah.
done as well, Luke,
Yeah.
as a combined sort of launch for that event.
Yes. So each piece, each monument was inspired by just different aspects of Wolverhampton. So if I remember off the top of my head, it was the Black Arts group, which is the one
Mm-hmm.
I did. There is I believe it was the Asian Minority Workers. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
the Asian Workers Union was
Yes,
another one. There was the Bangra Society
yes,
monument, and then there was the substance abuse one. It wasn't substance abuse or substance recovery,
yes,
substance
yes,
abuse recovery. So those were the four
yeah,
monuments, kind of
yeah,
each placed to each quarter
yeah.
of the space.
Yeah, yeah, and he did them all. So I mean, credit to Luke really, um, because at the unveiling it was quite moving, as you know you saw each one unveiled, and the story behind them sort
Yeah,
of got told to people, and it's just like you say, bringing the community together, but
yeah,
hearing local people tell their story about how they were affected, either just words or poetry by poem or
yeah,
poetry was really good on the day, very very good, and there was a good amount of people there to see the collective, as it
yeah.
were. Yeah, it was a very very good event. So how do you feel about being involved in something like that? Was it first, right?
Yeah, it was very moving. That's my first time in a big in like in such a big community piece. And
Mm.
it was very moving. I still don't didn't believe I was even a part of it, really. It was just so because
Surreal.
yeah, it was really surreal. I never expected to be involved, but I guess because I have such an interest in like community just support, and that's become a very big part of my identity and how I kind of move through the world. And that was what gave me that opportunity to do that. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
even though that's what kind of led to it, it was still so because there was so many phenomenal people, so many phenomenal groups that came together just to kind of build this thing, and it was just fantastic, really.
Yeah, and I know that I've done a great deal for your whatever you're trying to do, because I mean you're trying to influence other black youngsters, aren't you, into that world?
Yeah,
Is it
yeah.
have you got a group or class or something that they can come together every so often? Or how does that work?
I have it's more of a project really, but I have something called the
Mm.
Wolves Art Club, and that's really just open to so I have a Wolves Art Club, and I run workshops and like community meetups through there.
How
So
often is that then? How often is that?
that's once a month at the
Okay.
moment, mainly because it's the most I can manage with the
Yeah,
time I
yeah, yeah.
have.
I
So
understand
I try
that.
to make it sustainable,
Yes,
really.
yes, yes,
And
yes.
those ones are free. So I have like these free events, and all it is just like a massive piece of paper,
Mm.
and we have music playing, we have snacks, and we just kind of draw and chat really through it. Though that isn't that specific one isn't just to inspire Black people in Wolverhampton. It's really just an open
Anybody.
community thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really for everybody. That's
Mm.
how the events are run. That's why it's just titled it Wolves Art Club because it was for
Brilliant.
Wolverhampton. Because most of the
Brilliant.
people that kept coming to my events kept saying that, oh, we didn't expect stuff like this to happen in Wolverhampton.
Right.
And most times we'd go to Birmingham for stuff like that.
Okay,
And I
okay.
go to Birmingham for a lot of events, but part of the reason I made it was also because I was tired of going to Birmingham all the time.
And I like
So,
that. And why not
so I
develop
was
something over Wolverhampton, which is what you've started?
yeah, yeah. And it's been great. We've had some really lovely people kind of come and been a part of it, and they just come regularly, and now
Yes.
they just kind of feel like this little found family thing
Yes.
without intention. I was just trying to make something community, but community kind of builds itself, doesn't it? With
Yeah,
just
yeah,
repetition.
yeah. Especially now that you're famous for that monument, you know,
Somewhat, yeah.
because I mean, you can always use that as a basis, because if you're there trying to teach people things, it's a real reference point for you, isn't it?
Yeah,
To say I was involved in the designing and the production of that.
Yeah,
talking to anybody who's aspiring to do things. I think that's very influential, really. You
yeah.
know, and you mentioned going to Birmingham over the weekend or something to a Birmingham Fest. Is it a Birmingham Fest? Did I get it right?
Yeah, it's the Birmingham Design Festival. It
Okay.
happens once a year. Interestingly enough, when I wanted to start the Wolves Art Club project, I went to the owners of the Birmingham Design Festival because it's such a successful thing, and I was just
Okay.
asking for their advice. So we've come to know each other over the years because I've gone to a few of their events, and
Right.
they've been really supportive in like
Yeah.
supporting my project. So if you go on their website, they have a link to my own projects as well.
So
Just kind
what's
of
their
like
website? What's their website called?
their website is Birmingham Design Festival, I think
Okay.
.co.uk. Yeah.
Okay.
So that one was really interesting. I think that's another event of like this beautiful like camaraderie I
Yes.
have seen in practice. I think I'm still like kind of coming down from just the amount of like care and like support because that was so much and it was just kind of a continuous thing. Because
Right.
I that was my first time co-hosting this big event
Also, you
and
co-hosted it.
yeah, I co-hosted it. Yeah.
Oh,
So I
wow.
got initially I wanted to do a workshop with them. I wanted to do a workshop and then the one of the founders he contacted me and he was like, actually, we'd rather just have you as a co-host, really. And I was like, yeah,
Wow.
I'll sure. I'll try I'll try my hand at most things just to see how it goes. And it was quite a lovely event. So I became part of like the delivery team for the year trying to get everything sorted. And the delivery team is volunteers, but then we had so that was but that's like a closer group and within kind of supporting the event. And then there was like the
Yes.
wider group of volunteers, which are like a lot of students and just people that lived in Birmingham and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it all kind of operated like this really beautiful machine because I described it because I've been telling some of my friends about it because it was such a lovely experience.
Yeah.
And I've never really been in many organizations that everyone is really trying their best
Yeah.
in a way that they're not burning themselves out because okay
Right.
if you
Right.
feel
Right.
someone
Right.
is
Right.
like getting really tired you'd be like don't worry I'll take over this you go
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
rest
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
someone you meet up with somebody like have you eaten the amount of times some people brought me snacks because I was working through the day because we
That's
started from 8 a.m. till like 10 p.m. For
wow.
3 days straight so the amount of
Really?
people that kept checking on me like oh Gio have you eaten da 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 are you okay have you rested this and that this and that
Yeah.
and then that kind of care kind of makes you start doing the same thing for other people. So it becomes
Fantastic.
infectious and you start checking, have you eaten? Are you
Fantastic.
okay? Are you all right?
Yeah.
Da da da. And
Yeah.
it's just this beautiful, like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was a
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
great experience. But that's why I was so busy because 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. days are really long. So that's
Yes.
14-hour work shifts.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's 3 days out of the year, so it's not too bad.
Yeah. 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 I mean, there are three fully engaged days,
Three
aren't they? It's not like
fully
it's just
engaged
yeah.
days, three
But
very focused days.
yes, yes, yes. But all good for you and your portfolio and everything else, really, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
And
no, it's fantastic.
looking at that where it goes from there, you're linking with the second city, Birmingham, and
Yeah,
that can only get better. And you
yeah,
mentioned you were in, was it Croatia or something somewhere? Was it?
yeah.
Was that
That
anything to
was
do with anything to
no,
do
that
with
wasn't work. That was just a break. That was just
a
that
break?
was just a holiday.
You're not allowed to break. You're
You
too
know,
young for that.
you're
No,
not
but
allowed to break no.
no, too young.
No, to be fair, that trip, my friends had to force me because
Okay.
I joke about it, but I'm kind of like constantly just kind of operating 24/7. So my friends had to
Mm.
like kind of force me, like, let's go on a
Oh
holiday, at
yes,
least for
that's
like a
brilliant.
week or so. So it was a lovely time. But I'd
That,
never been
that,
to
that
Croatia before, so it was
that's
really nice.
excellent as well because that's a bit of a community spirit there, where you've got at the fest you have people looking after you and say, "Have you eaten?" And now your friends looking after you saying, "You need a break." We all need that those kind of people around us and us around people to make us
Yes.
all better and one going forward. So,
No, genuinely.
looking at what you do then, and you, as a Nigerian, then would you like to be somewhat influential with your work in back in Nigeria?
In a way, to be fair, I really would, but it's one of those things where like I left as a kid,
Mm,
so I'm not as aware of kind of like the workings of Nigeria.
Okay,
I have
okay.
as much awareness as a kid would have because that was my only vantage point. I
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
awareness from a distance, but how much can you understand?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have
yeah.
a greater understanding of like the British political system than I
Which
do
which is fair.
Nigeria.
Which is
Yeah,
fair. Which is
because
fair.
it's what I've existed under as an adult. It's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
what
yeah.
my understanding of
Yeah,
like
yeah, 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 yeah.
so, but I would like to because a lot of my work, my most recent pieces, personal pieces, have
Mm.
been more about Nigeria's history.
Okay.
Um, because the parts of Nigeria I grew up in was very had a lot of like big oil presence.
Okay.
Companies like Shell and BP and stuff like that. And that led to and has and is still leading to harm in many
Did you say
ways.
harm?
Harm, yeah,
Really?
in many ways in the Niger Delta. And I have some understanding of it because just from my memories, just kind of soot and oil and stuff like that leaking because there wasn't any care when it came to like black bodies.
All
But
right.
just I don't even know. I don't even know if it was specifically back or just wasn't any care by corporations. Make
Mm-hmm.
profits really was really the only thing, and then everyone
Right,
else
right,
wasn't really
right,
cared about, and that led and has led to a lot of um, issues in
right.
several communities. So a lot of my recent projects, even the one I was telling you about where I made a costume, where I made a clothes, was inspired by um, that reality in Nigeria, in the Niger Delta.
Yeah, that's interesting. Then if you can tell that kind of story through your art, you
Yeah,
know, of that it, well, it's not a moment in time, it's a growing thing, isn't it? What's happened
yeah,
over a period of time and the devastation to people. That's
yeah,
interesting. Very
yeah.
interesting. Talking about that then, so how much do you embrace your Nigerian heritage?
I embrace it quite a bit to be fair, but it's one of those things where like I also have this interesting thing with my identity. Because because in Nigeria I wasn't Nigerian. In Nigeria I was Igbo because we have all sorts of tribes. So in
Okay.
Nigeria I saw myself as Igbo. In the UK I'm Nigerian because that's the differentiator really.
Yes, yes, yes.
And Nigerian I'm black.
Okay.
But I do love Nigeria very
Mm,
deeply.
mm.
And I think that's part of why my work has kind of transcended into that criticizing of like organizations that have led harm to people
Yes,
within
yes,
Nigeria
yes, yes, yes.
because of that love I have for it and
Yes, yes, yes. You
this
got
better future.
a vested
Yeah,
interest in the
yeah,
future of your yeah. Okay.
yeah, because I would love to see it get better. I would love to see
Yes.
it get supported. And of course, just like every other region, most regions in the world, the people are lovely. The place itself is lovely. Nigeria is beautiful, but you have bigger corporations, organizations, and governments always kind of like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
interfering and interrupting. And
And
yeah,
dominating the things. So
yeah.
have you been back to Nigeria many times or recently or what? How's that going?
I haven't, mainly because it's really expensive. The tickets back to Nigeria are really expensive.
Okay.
Um, the last time I was back, unfortunately, was for my father's funeral.
Yeah.
That's the last time I was back in Nigeria.
10 years
And
ago. Yeah.
yeah, and of course, then you can't really look at anything, really. You don't really
Mm-mm. Yeah, yeah,
appreciate
because you're
anything
there
because you're
under a
mourning.
different mindset, aren't you?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But
It, it-
I would really like to go back. I through some friends I've made recently, some Nigerian friends here that came over recently. I've been learning about Nigeria's art scene, which, as like
yeah,
you said, as a kid, had no idea about. And
yeah.
so I've been trying to get in contact with them and even either make art or collaborate with them and kind of
Yes,
do
yes.
stuff that I can from here and stuff like that. So
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
is one of my goals or
Oh,
something
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
currently
yeah,
trying to
yeah, yeah.
achieve in Nigeria.
Yeah. Because how good would it be if you were to go back to your school up until you were 12
Yeah.
and make a link there and have some sort of art, outside the school or something, that there are possibilities of those things.
There are
What's that?
possibilities, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, you started off, you got this one done. You never know your name, big fame,
You never
Giovanni
know.
Uche. Yeah,
You never know. I mean, I just kind of I'm always surprised by the just the opportunities that come my way. Though my mother has told me to be a lot more appreciative of the work I've put in to kind
Yes,
of get these opportunities to drop in my lap. But still, I have been
yeah,
very blessed to be able to end up put in the work to kind of meet such lovely people that kind of open these things. So you honestly never know. My only goal is to try and be as supportive and as of service to
yes,
like the people I love and wider
yeah, yeah,
community
yeah,
as I
yeah.
can. And then
And
things just kind of work out sometimes.
absolutely, absolutely. Talk about things working out. Your mom was at the unveiling of the monument.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yeah, she helped me take
yes.
off
I remember
the
that.
banner.
I've got video of it. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure. So it was great to see your mom. She looks really proud.
she was very proud. She was very proud. I think she was getting teary about it.
Oh my goodness. And that's fantastic. And were your siblings there as well?
My sister was there, yes, but
Okay, okay.
my brother's there in university is a different
Yeah, yeah,
part of the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
UK,
yeah.
so they weren't able
But
to share
yeah,
in person. But whenever they're back in Wolverhampton, I'll take them over to go have a look at it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Hmm.
fantastic. So what have you got planned for the future then?
For the future, my main thing really is to finish my MA because I'm in the final stretch of it. And
Okay,
once, yeah, I'm in the final stretch of so I'm doing my MA in art and design at the moment.
right.
And that has been good for kind of like expanding my research skills. And
Mm,
that's kind of what has led to a lot of my recent projects and kind of really going in depth.
mm.
Getting through that and then hopefully building the Wolves Art Club into a wider, just a wider
Yes.
project that can reach out, maybe more directly to different types of communities and just kind of work within that space.
Yeah, I can see the headlines now. Professor Hushek.
I hope so. As long as long as it's as long as it can be helpful, it's
Yeah,
really what I kind of take energy from. So
yes,
my
yes.
main goals is just to have something sustainable for myself,
Mm,
so I can kind of like just move through the world easier, and
mm.
just to be able to see that kind of care and support you can give to others, and then they kind of give those to others, and it just becomes this beautiful chain of kind of like support and care that's always transferred over.
I
It's a
like that
beautiful thing.
actually. I like that. It's very, 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 very good statement you just made there. It's fantastic the journey that you've taken us on, really, and because there's a lot of other arts movements in the center of our country, and I'm sure this will then emanate to other parts of the country, London and beyond. And you know,
Yeah.
with this, you telling your story. So I want to say thank you very much for taking us on your journey,
Thank you
and
so much for having me.
yeah, giving us a bit of an insight into what you've been doing and what you're likely to be doing further on. And it's
Yeah.
just fantastic. Yeah. Have you got any question to us as the forgotten generations at all?
Any questions? I didn't prepare any questions. I wasn't entirely sure exactly how the format would work, to be fair. Um, no, nothing in particular. I'm just looking forward to see what other interviews and stuff come out of the Forgotten Generations, really. I'm more
Yeah,
excited than anything.
yeah. Well, I mean, I asked a question because some people do have questions, but what happened with these interviews is that we try to promote everyone. Like you
Yeah,
talk about community, and that's what we look at the community of African Caribbean people.
yeah.
So, for instance, now your interview will go onto the Nigerian page
Okay.
underneath the Nigerian flag, which
Okay.
then we can promote into Nigeria, this massive country of yours. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the world, talking about a Nigerian person having done this. So therefore, the whole point is to say, as a young person, whatever color you might be, but especially black, to say,
Yeah.
look, Giovanni's done that. Professor
Yeah.
Uche has done that.
Yeah.
You too can do it. So
Yeah.
that's really this sort of ethos. And then, of course, what we like to do is promote Black history into schools on a
Yeah.
permanent basis, not just Black History Month. So
Yes.
that's what's around the forgotten generation. So seeing somebody like you doing what you're doing, it was great to link with Luke to say, let's get a story out of you. And we've done just that.
Yeah.
So I'd like to
No,
say thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for what you're doing. It is so vital, I think, because I have it's not theory, it is the truth. This is the truth. A lot of black kids don't really see themselves in other avenues of life more than the one that's kind of fed to them through kind of more Western popular media. And it's nice to
Mm.
see different types of people in different types of spaces.
Yes.
And so stuff like the Forgotten Generation is very necessary to
Mm.
promote to kids that you can do the music and football and all those things, and those are valid ways of kind of moving through the world. But there are other ways of moving through the world, and your whatever way they feel like they might have to like put down because they don't see it that often
Mm.
is not the case because you have a lot of like black scientists, black mathematicians, black
Yes.
artists in all these
Yeah.
kind of
Mili-
avenues, black
yeah. Military
historians.
personnel, politicians, right across
Yeah,
the board.
yeah,
And the other thing that it does is on the other side of things of people of different color or
yeah,
ethnicity. This is education as well to say it's not just what you see in the media because the media tend to be more negative than positive in a lot of sense
yeah,
because it sells more.
yeah,
So this is the positive spin of what we do as a people, you
exactly.
know. So yeah. Okay, well, again, Giovanni, great. Thank you so much for
Thank
taking
you.
time out and good luck in all what you do in the future, yeah?
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you having me. I
No,
hope we can meet up at some point again in the future.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.